Hi everyone and welcome to the Tech Insiders event, this round Quality Engineering edition. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you're going to learn new things and enjoy this session. My name is Vlad Zeciu. I'm a technical director at Globant and I have here with me my colleague Stella Ceban, who's a test automation engineer. Before diving into these slides, let's start into a short video about Globant.
Now that I've lost everything to you, you say you want to start something new, and it's breaking my heart you're leaving. Baby, I'm grieving, but if you want to leave, then take good care. Hope you make a lot of nice friends out there, but just remember that a lot of bad everywhere. You know I've seen what the world can do, and it's breaking my heart in two. 'Cause I never want to see you a sad girl. Don't be a bad girl.
Reinvention moves the world forward, and that's what we do best.
Oh, baby, it's a wild world.
We are Globant, the company you probably don't know, behind many of the digital transformations you do know. Globant. Seek reinvention.
All right, so let's go forward. Today's agenda is built around studios, our vision, and of course the QE studio practices that I'm going to present. After that, I'll have my colleague Stella to dive into the Docker Hub topic of the day. All right, so talking about studios, one of the main pillars of Globant are studios. So we have studios split into two main categories. We have reinvention studios and digital studios. The reinvention studios have been crafted to revolutionize specific business models and industries. Things like airlines, blue cap, future and finance, gaming, life sciences, and so on. Those are all things that are the newest ones in Globant. So this group of studios will help our clients to reinvent themselves in a sustainable way and also lead their future. The digital studios, on the other hand, are focused on developing capabilities on latest technologies. We are trying to help our customers through different areas, and you see here lots of those studios like agile delivery, like cybersecurity, which it's a very burning topic of the days, quality engineering, UI engineering, and so on. I'm not going to enumerate all of them because there are a lot of them here. So we are grouped on studios. Why? Well, first of all, for better collaboration, for better support of our customers, and in the same time, for our Globers to grow. So for example, let's take a situation where we have a potential client that would like both a web and a mobile product. How do we do that? Right? We need to involve different studios and those studios will collaborate together. Then let's say a customer needs a DevOps tailored solution, but in the same time, through the discovery phase, we identified that they also need test automation. Then it is our studio that comes in, the quality engineering studio, and continues to help on this initiative. So going to the quality engineering details, we have here lots of things. You see here practices, you see here some logos, you see here some introduction, key differentiators, and so on. I'll just go quickly through some of these things just to showcase the importance of our studio. We all know that testing is one of the most important steps of a successful delivery, right? I'm not saying something new over here, but in the same time, we are trying to minimize any risks that customers might have with their business. It is a very important key point. It is a very important key differentiator that Globant has. We are trying to minimize any risks that customer might have with their business. On the practices side of things, we have well-established practices that we have developed throughout the years. These are not new stuff. This is not something that we invented, but it is something that we mastered through the years. What is the value proposition of our studio? Well, first of all, we have practices aimed at promoting specialization in different areas. How do we do that? We do that by training material development. We do that by having communities of practices in place. And in these communities of practices, we share ideas and we promote them. We discover new things and we share them with the group. We also support pre-sales and pitches, which is a very important part. And also, another key area of our studio is that we are always focusing on an agile delivery model. So, talking about practices, again, I'm just going to go through some of the most important ones. I'll start with agile testing. So, in order to avoid testing as a phase, right? So, not going back to the past but to the future, the testing processes and strategies are adapted to shift left testing. So we test as early as possible. We are always oriented to deliver from the very beginning of each project. Some of the core benefits of that, well, by starting early, we can do a deep analysis of the customer needs well in advance. That's how we find bugs in the early phases, which we all know they are cheaper to fix. Then, of course, this has an effective approach in order to reduce risks. Another point, test automation. Test automation is also about testing early, right? So if we go with automation solutions from the very early phases of a project, then we can make sure that we can deliver effectively, we can deliver often, we can deliver fast. Here's where test automation comes in, running thousands of tests across different environments, across different platforms at every stage, right, of the development will allow us in releasing stable and reliable builds more frequently. Of course, in the end, this translates into helping our customers to stay ahead of their competition. All right, and I'll just talk about accessibility from this slide. Nowadays, accessibility has become more present in our applications. And while using manual and automation testing, we help the application move forward, but the final assessments of different guidelines, different regulation that the product might have need to be also tested. We can fully support that. We can fully support the accessibility requirements as part of the development process. All right. Thanks a lot. Let's move to Stella.
Hi everyone, I'm Stella and I'm part of Globant company as a QA automation engineer. And welcome to start with Docker Hub images presentation. Let's get started with defining the context. Let's say we have a challenge as a part of QA activities on a project. Because at some point it might be required to perform database testing or simple CRUD operation using SQL queries in order to get either the expected result or to create the test data for UI or API testing purposes. In order to complete our goal, during this presentation, we will find out how Docker Hub images can enable additional learning opportunities for QAs, how they can be used to learn more about SQL stored procedures, and how to use Microsoft Server image with Docker as a practical example. I will go next with clarifying a few important and simple terms about Docker glossary. So let's imagine that Docker registry stores Docker images. And in simple terms, a Docker image is a set of instructions to run a container. It's basically like a template. So Docker image is a template of an environment and a container runs the software. At this step, this is basically all we need to know about this. But if you want to learn more about Docker and Docker architecture, please consider accessing Docker official website. We'll go next to find out more about Docker Hub. Docker Hub in technical terms is Docker's official cloud-based registry for images. And it can enable additional learning opportunities for QAs. In simple terms, Docker Hub is like a Play Store where you can find ready-to-use or public images. It really saves the time because it takes less time to configure a container than to set up or configure a local environment. And on the other hand, Docker desktop tool is very easy to use. We just quickly can set up a container. After that, download an image and without installing anything else on our local environment, which is great because we can keep our local environment clean. And after using this image, we can just stop it and delete the container and restore the same environment when needed. So I'll go next with exposing some benefits of using SQL stored procedures to support QA testing activity. Let's say that stored procedure can be used by multiple users. They can be reused and executed anytime. And even they can be used by other team members who don't have knowledge on how to write SQL queries. And the last but not the least, stored procedures are easier to maintain. We will continue with our practical example. First step will be to install Azure Data Studio tool. For this, we just need to access Microsoft official website and to follow the required steps in order to download and install the tool. The question that might rise at this step would be, why do we need another tool when we have already SQL Server Management Studio, which is a great tool? The reason is SQL Server runs in multi-platforms, but SQL Server Management Studio tool runs only on Windows platform. So Microsoft needed to handle this somehow, and they have created Azure Data Studio tool. For this presentation, we will go with this tool, but you can choose what tool you prefer. The next step would be to install Docker Desktop on our local machine. And this is a simple step. We just need to access Docker official website, and based on our operating system, we can download the version of Docker Desktop we need. Third step will be sign up for Kaggle datasets. Briefly about Kaggle website. This is an website that provides the users the opportunity to practice on real world data sets from various industries. And this is an option when you don't want to spend more time on populating the database tables with data. So we can focus on our goal and go next. Step 4 will be to sign up for a Docker account. This is also an easy step because we just need to provide the required data and to create our account. After our account is created, we can log in with Docker ID to pull the images from Docker Hub. Let's see it in action. We just need to copy the Docker ID and to open a terminal. to type docker login command and to provide the required details, username and password. After a while, the connection is in place. But before pulling Docker Hub images, let's talk about security. Is it safe to use images from Docker Hub? The answer is yes and no, because Docker images are not security vetted. So although they are considered to be safe in general, you just need to be extra careful what image you decide to use, because anyone can publish images on Docker Hub. We are on the safe side because we are using Microsoft SQL Server image with Docker. This image is provided by Microsoft. Next step will be to pull Microsoft SQL Server image from Docker Hub. Let's see it in action. First way that I would present is to copy this comment from the top of the screen. This will download the image, and we'll see that we have it on our desktop, Docker desktop tool. But before do this, we need to run this image. I will present another way to download and run right away an image. If you go down to after how to use this image and copy the command docker run within your terminal, you will need just to provide a strong password and to pay attention on what port you are using. In this case, it's 1433. It's an important information. With this command, we will pull the image and we will start to use it right away. As you can see on Docker desktop tool, this image is already in use and the container is running. With this setup, we are ready to go next. We need to use Azure Data Studio tool to set up SQL Server database connection. And for this, we need to click on New Connection and provide the required data. For connection type, please provide Microsoft SQL Server. For server, we need to provide the port that we are using. For authentication type, SQL login. For username, SA, and the password. And click on Connect button. After a few seconds, the connection will be established. We can go next. If the connection is in place, we can use Kaggle datasets to populate the database table with the data. And first, we need just to log in with our Kaggle account and to download those CSV files that are provided. For this case, I have chosen sports. This is a nice preview of the data on the site. And we just need to click on download button. And we can see how the data are are displayed within these CSV files. There are a lot of data for practicing, so let's get started with them. First of all, we need to establish SQL Server import extension for Azure Data Studio tool to be able to import Kaggle datasets CSV file. To do this, we just need to click on extensions icon. This extension is already installed on my side, but please pay attention that this wizard only works on TXT and CSV files. If you click on install button, you will see that SQL Server import extension is available for you and you are ready to use it. Let's use it. Click on import wizard and provide the required data. We will import the CSV file we want and provide a table name. Next, we will have a preview data nicely displayed. With this option, we have the possibility to update data types. And when we are happy with all the updates, we can click on import button. We will need to refresh and to see that the table is in place. But in order to validate that we can access the data, we will run a select SQL query. And these data are nicely displayed within the table. The same process will be able to do for the next table, but I will skip this step for now. We'll go next with create SQL stored procedure CRUD operations. And we'll start with an insert or create. For this, I will use a few keywords that are mandatory for stored procedures: create procedure, alter procedure, execute. And if you want to insert within the body begin and the SQL queries, you will need to update it with select and insert. Why select? Because we need to get the last ID that is inserted within the database in order to increment it and after that to use it within insert SQL query. Please pay attention about the order of the columns, and they have to match with the values. Otherwise, you will get errors. Let's see it in action. So first, I will create a new stored procedure. I will update with a name and run it. Now I run a select query in order to get the last ID. Please pay attention that 1 is the last item displayed. This is just for validation purposes. Now we will update the stored procedure with the SQL queries that we need. In this case, select and insert, as I have mentioned previously, and run them. At this step, this stored procedure is saved. Now, if we just execute this stored procedure, we'll get the item that we want inserted. And if I verify again, as you can see, the increment was in place. 2 is the last character displayed for our ID. Let's run a select store procedure just to verify that all the data are inserted correctly, and this is the expected result. We can also convert our database table data to JSON format with this tool. Let's go next. We just talk about a little bit about select stored procedure. I will go through quickly because I will follow the same steps. I would create, alter, and execute the store procedure. Let's see it in action. Let's refresh it. We need to provide the name. We need to check that the filter that we are using is displayed within database. In this case, I'm filtering by sports and name. Run the store procedure and the data is updated. Now we just need to execute the stored procedures and to provide the required parameters. As you can see, this row I should get, and if I run it, the expected result is equal to actual result. We can go next with update, which will follow the same steps. The difference is that I'm using in the stored procedures body update SQL query, and I will update the name and the city this time with different values. For ID1, let's see in action. I create the store procedure. I select first by name and sports in order to get the expected result for now. And after updating it, so the city is at least Barcelona, yeah. And after update, run the stored procedure and execute it. And we'll see that the update is in place by running one more time select. The city is Frankfurt now. So we got the expected result and we can convert it to JSON format. We will continue with delete, which will be the same steps to follow, but the difference is that we will use delete SQL query. Let's see quickly. We will create the store procedure, delete store procedure. Now we need to update and after that we execute it. As you can see here, delete stored procedure is in place. Now we can alter it with SQL delete query, run it, and the next step will be to execute in order to delete properly our item. So one row affected, the item must be deleted. And when we are running a select SQL query for the ID that we have deleted, we see that the table is empty because the item doesn't exist anymore. When we are done with our practicing, we need to clean up our environment. So we need to stop and remove the Docker image and the container. And we have a few commands to run. They are easier to run. So let's see it in action, how to do it. I have opened Docker Desktop tool and the terminal in order to see what happens when you run a certain command. For instance, this container has an ID and it is running. First of all, we need to stop it by typing docker stop and providing at least 3 characters from Docker container ID. And if you can see, the status is exited now. It's not running anymore. And now we can remove it. And it is disappeared. Now the same we can do with images. We have 2 images downloaded. We just need to type a command and to provide at least 3 characters from Docker image ID. As you can see, this image is removed, first image. And the second image is also removed. We are done with this, but we can set up the same environment when needed, anytime. What I can specify is that Docker Desktop is not free anymore. It's free only for personal use, but we have a few alternatives that you can try if you are interested in. Let's talk about a few key advantages realized from use of Docker Hub images and stored procedures for QAs. First, it's easy to use, saving time. It's the second, portability, and a clean environment. And as a QA, you can improve your technical skills and learn more about in less time. And by using stored procedures, you can enhance the QA process quickly and efficiently. I have provided a few links to the websites that I have used. Thank you for your attention. Vlad, it's over you now.
Thank you, Stella. This was a very, very good topic, and I hope people learn new stuff today. In the end, learning is a process that should never stop, right?
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining this edition of Tech Insiders. Stay tuned and see you next time.